Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen in San Diego, California. It's a little after 8 a.m. on 8/11/21. This is a special broadcast about sustainability. I know we've heard that word bandied about in the press, and politicians and some other academics are using it. They're trying to elevate their own lives, I think. But we have an authentic person right here. Here's Trent Romemer in Albany, New York. He's an author, but he's also a businessman. Third generation in a company-owned business, and it's all about plastic bags. Now that is like, whoa, Darth Vader. Hello, Trent.
Hi, Ed. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate that introduction. I think you captured it, where you don't usually associate plastic bags with sustainability, and it's something that's really driven us for the last 3 or 4 years to transform our family-owned and operated business. My grandfather started the business back in 1961. My father owned it for 25 years, and my brother and I now own it. I'm from a very large family. I have 32 first cousins, 6 aunts, 6 uncles. So very much a family owned and operated for 60 years. And 3-4 years ago, there was something inside me personally that really drove us to say, the end of life issues with plastics was really starting to bother me. Then the National Geographic, June 2018, it's hard to see, but it says Plastics or Planet. It's the June 2018 cover edition of the National Geographic. When I read that, I realized that it was time to move. I had to do something. I had this internal feeling that was in me for a couple of years, and that really pushed me over the edge to start a journey towards being more sustainable.
So that cover, National Geographic, why don't you hold that up again and try to tilt it a little bit towards the camera here? A little bit more tilt. All right, now that brings the contrast. Boy, it sort of looks like an iceberg, but also a monster.
Yeah, it's an iceberg at first glance, but then you realize it's a plastic bag that is shaped like an iceberg. And the cover is very simple, but it says Plastic or Planet. And the whole issue is about how plastics helps us in a lot of ways, but also at the end of life, we don't have a very good stream to circulate that back into new materials, and it's accumulating in our oceans, and it's a real problem. So how can we begin to help solve that?
So I've got a couple of ideas on this too. They're a little off the wall, but only from a marketing point of view, because that's my life is PR and marketing since I've been about 15. So you woke up one day and you had a lot of guilt, but also you probably saw a business opportunity there. And so writing the book and getting in front of the parade rather than suffering from the backlash and the guilt Because that could suck. So,
Yeah.
so how did you choose to do this? Was that a transformation? Were you out walking in the Adirondacks or something, and you said, "I got to do something simple that's meaningful"?
Yeah, I think the subtitle of the book is "The Personal and Professional Journey of a Plastic Bag Manufacturer," which
Good.
is really important because it is personal. And throughout the book, I bring to life some experiences I've had in nature, be it running or canoeing in the Adirondacks, or running in Seattle, or water skiing in Vermont, or all of these experiences. I tried to tie them into the book. So you're getting this personal side of it, which is really the driver to trying to sort of bridge this gap. And when I really think about it, and I found a wonderful editor who really helped me professionally edit and think about the book, it's really a question of survival or preservation. So when you pit those two things together, I felt like if I was on the survival path alone, I would forfeit the preservation side for future generations. And I felt like if I only went the preservation side, I may not be able to survive our company of 70 people, 70 families that we support. We wouldn't be able to survive in the short term. So we had these two paths, and I couldn't choose one or the other. So what I chose to do is I have this fictional boat. I called it the sustainability boat that I got in, that led to some education, brought me to a couple different countries, brought me to Harvard University for a week to learn about how to implement sustainable practices and whatnot.
Okay, I have to ask some questions. I'm not an expert. I'm just a reporter. Okay. So, don't you think this is not politics? It's just business. The infrastructure bill should contain bonuses or incentives for companies, not just individuals, but companies, to make money by clearing up the mess in the oceans, having to do with plastic bags. Never mind all the other crap, but let's just talk about plastic bags.
100%. I totally agree with that. Any kind of bill or law that does two things, I think. One is promote the use of more sustainable materials, like instead of bag bans, which I agree with. I love bag bans. When you don't need something, don't use it. But if the incentive was that every form of packaging by the year 2030 had to have 25% post-consumer recycled content, that would be great. Wait
a minute. Why only 25%? How about 90?
Well, the problem with plastic right now is the infrastructure to support that. You can't get the clarity that you need. I can't print on it to the degree that the consumer wants it. So if you get a nice loaf of bread and you see imperfections in that package, you're probably not going to buy that loaf of bread. So the infrastructure and the technology is not quite there yet where you can make it 90%. Right now, we're running 40%. So the 40% post-consumer recycled content runs pretty good, has a few imperfections, but as time goes on, the hope is, to your point, Ed, 40 becomes 50, becomes 60, becomes 70. So that would be a great incentive to begin to pull that demand through the process.
I want to take a break. I want to get a couple of things from my cabinet here, and
Great.
then we can discuss real
Great.
time. Okay.
Great.
I've never done this, so here we go.
Love it. Love it.
All right. This is my beloved bagels, right? And this is a plastic bag. All right. And I got these at the 99-cent store, and they're actually fresh. It's an everything bagel. And there's printing on the plastic bag here, right? Mm-hmm. So the 99-cent store sells these for, I think it's a little bit more than 99, maybe a 129 or something, but it's good enough. Anyway, how do they make all this stuff and then sell it at a profit at a buck or $1.29? I mean, that's incredible how
Yep.
profitable the industry must be. And then I would think there's incentives to, and it looks fresh and it looks okay, but I'd hate like hell to see this in the ocean.
You know what? One of the things that I think is a very simple thing that I wish could happen overnight is labeling. So if on that package it said what to do with the package at the end of life, does it? Is there
No,
anything that says put this in your curbside bin or bring it back to the in-store box to recycle that product?
no, it's just a lot of stuff about nutrition, which is nice, and about the product. And there's a barcode
So,
and something about bakery products and blah, blah, blah.
yep.
I
So
mean, there's a lot of print on here. So I understand there's problems with transparency.
we are able as a country to standardize labeling for UPC codes, for ingredients. All that stuff is pretty standard when you go, bagel to bagel to bagel. And the idea would be to standardize how we label what to do with whatever you have, whether it be a can or a bag or whatever, what to do with that item at the end of life. And I think the whole premise of my book is really about circularity, is you want to design something with the end in mind. And I'll give you an analogy. I think that helps. An orange peel is a package for an orange, right? So there's no package for an orange. The orange peel serves as a package for the actual orange. So when you get home and you unpeel the orange or you unpeel the package to get what you want, that orange peel, if it was composted, would turn into something else. So you get that full circle with an orange peel. And that is the sort of gold standard. That's the idea that we want to do with any material, be it plastic or paper or metal, that you want to be able to capture that at the end of life and turn it into something else, very similar to that orange peel analogy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. Give me another one.
So one of the other things that you hear all the time is if you're not buying recycled content, you're not recycling. So the shirt I'm wearing, 50% of this shirt is made from recycled polyester. This watch made by Trewa, all of the plastic in this watch is made from ocean plastics. So these are just two examples of if you are not recycling, if you're not buying recycled content, you want to pull that demand through the process. So that's something simple that I think we can all begin to do is when you're buying a shirt, try and buy something recycled content. It doesn't look any different, but what you're doing is creating that demand for folks to do it. I will talk about a chapter in the book that really sort of crystallized this if you wanted me to go into that. So one of the trips I made, I went we're a member of the Sustainable Packaging Coalition. It's the largest packaging coalition in the United States that's really trying to focus on more sustainable packaging moving forward. And the trip to Seattle, they had a conference in Seattle for a week in Seattle. And one of the trips I was able to make from the conference was a trip to CenturyLink Field. That is the home of the Seattle Sounders and Seattle Seahawks. I think it's 90,000 seat arena. We went there at 10 o'clock in the morning. There was no one in the place, no one except our tour. It felt like I didn't see anybody else. So as soon as the 10 of us walked in, the tour guy said to us, there's only about 2 or 3 garbage bins in the entire facility. And I'm thinking to myself, how is that possible?
90,000 people.
90,000 people, there's only 2 or 3 garbage bins. He said, what there is there's compost bins and there's recycle bins. Now, an arena, when you walk into an arena, they take everything away from you, right? You can only walk in with maybe a jacket and a purse. So they control anything they give you. So whatever they give you at the concession stand or whatever they give you at the gift store, they control that. So anything they're giving you is either compostable or recyclable. There's only 2 options for them. So at the end of the event, they have the composter comes and picks up the compost, the compostable materials, and the recycler comes. The composter then turns the waste into compost. And this was really powerful. The local growers, local farmers in Seattle will buy the compost, and then the stadium will buy back potatoes and whatnot to make French fries. So the circularity of garbage turning into compost turning into potatoes, turning into French fries was just so powerful in terms of what would be an ideal goal.
Trent, I've never heard that kind of story before, and that is crystal clear, even for a dummy like me.
No.
I mean, no, it is crystal clear how to do it. So why aren't there tax breaks and incentives? And why aren't you appointed the czar of all this? So because you're crystal clear in your explanations.
So it is an interesting, I appreciate that, but I think there's so many tentacles to this whole thing. But I just think about the stadium analogy, because they control the waste, because they're giving you it, right? It's almost that design with the end in mind. They know the end. The end is either recyclable and compostable. And when you think about it, there's only three places. There's no such thing as a way. Like everything goes somewhere, right? And there's only three options. There's landfill, there's compost, or there's recycle. That's it. There's only three. We want to avoid the landfill if we can. So now we're down to two, either recyclable or compostable. So how can we make that stadium analogy more of a town analogy, a city analogy, a world analogy? I know I'm getting a little Pollyannish here.
No, but why not make it like, it doesn't have to be a law, but it has to be a social movement, a cult, that everybody gets behind it. And it could be led by not an old guy like me, but it could be led by a 20-year-old, Gen Z.
Yeah. So part of my book, at the end of my book, I really in my book try and stay in my lane. I am not a scientist. I'm just somebody who enjoys being in nature. I've been in this business for 30 years. The people here, we have great people here. We've supported 70 families for 40, 50 years. So I need to survive with this business, but I want to do the best I possibly can to move the ball in the right direction. And part of this is an educational piece. And I'm really excited. I've had a couple of high school teachers reach out to me. The SUNY Albany reached out to me to begin this process of trying to talk about circularity in what we're doing. And again, design with the end in mind to try and mirror that stadium analogy.
I'm writing this, what you just said. You've probably been saying it 100 times, so you don't recognize how important I think it is. Circularity.
So there's something called the circular economy, which is all devoted to whatever you're starting with. You want to start with existing products or renewable products. And at the end of life, you want to capture that, whatever it is.
See, it's old school. I'm writing it down.
I love it. I love it. Circularity. Yep. So what we've been in forever, and this is sort of circularity 101, is we've been in this linear economy where we take, we make, we consume, and we chuck it out, right? It's very linear. And this take, make, consume, and throw it out mentality, they always talk about circularity as bending it around. So at the end of life, how can we make that a feedstock for something else? And that's what we're really trying to do. And it will help global emissions, which is obviously a global warming issue. But when you're using existing products, instead of making new ones, you're saving resources, you're lowering emissions, and sort of all these things. I think the big thing, Ed, the big problem is the cost difference. So it's cheaper to make new things than to repurpose old ones.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergei Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
I want to go back. I'm sure, guessing, but I'm sure that most of my audience will understand the problem and the situation like 90% more than they did 1 hour ago because of this conversation. So, and we have a large reach, not immediate, but over a period of time. We have an intelligent marketing system that's almost a circular thing, but we'll get into that another time. But I want you to repeat some things, all right, for the benefit of me and the audience. Circularity means it's recycle, of course, but the thinking behind it.
It could be compost too. So think about any end of life. If you're able to compost it, you can grow something else. Right.
So compost it again. This is 8th grade. Okay. Yep. So compost it means rebury. What does compost mean?
So think about an orange peel, right? If you put an orange peel or food waste and you put it in the right humidity and right temperature, that will turn into compost, and that compost can be used to grow other things.
Okay, reuse to grow other things. I'm just writing all this down here. Okay.
The big word, and this is I think it's overly simplified, but it's always helped me, is circularity means no waste.
Ah, okay.
So in a perfect circular environment, perfect circular economy, there's no waste, because anything that you have at the end of one process serves as a feedstock for something else.
So let me ask you to either shoot me down or build me up, or step aside. But let's talk about this infrastructure bill. This is going to change, or it has the capability anyway, of changing our society, never mind the economy, for a long time to come. It's almost like building the superhighway system back in the 50s. All the land development, the use of materials, the economic development, huge. That is all a result of that decision. And here we are on the verge of that happening again. So I see a window here, an avenue for circularity. So let's talk about crumbling bridges and potholes in the asphalt and crap like that, okay? So how can the idea of recycle or circularity, no waste, reusing stuff, what are they going to do with the bridges that they're not going to tear them down, but they're going to make them inoperative for a while until they bring in new stuff? So can't they take the old concrete or the old rebar or the old whatever is there, the nails, and reuse that stuff somehow? And as maybe not right away, but reuse all that and make a whole new industry out of the reuse of heavy duty stuff. Because the easiest thing to do, for instance, in a market like here in San Diego, they did the exact opposite recently. First of all, very quickly, this is where the San Diego football Chargers played for a long time. And most of the citizenry here can't stand the ownership and blame them for taking the team away, all right? And they would welcome the team back, but not the owners.
Right.
But part of the issue was the stadium deal. The stadium that was built in the 60s with public money and bonding and all that, but the city owned it and then leased it out, and then it was a moneymaker. But they never repaired it along the way. It was such a dump. I mean, even the Roman Coliseum was in better shape, I think, than the San Diego Stadium. It looked great from a distance, circular with designs from futuristic looking 60s, and all that. But the insides are crumbling. Oh, it's a pit. I refuse to go there. So
I love Dan Fouts.
So they knocked it all down. Yeah. So they knocked it all down, and now San Diego State University, which is it's a huge business, although it's state owned. I mean, a multi-billion-dollar business. They're building up 2 stadiums on the same parking lot, and they're going to build campus housing around it also, because it's right near the main campus. So it's good use of recirculating the land, but all that material, huge amounts of everything, they carted it to Mexico and sold it to somebody. And I don't know what they're going to do with it. But another example is right down the street from where I am right now is the Pacific Ocean. Excuse me. Pardon me, San Diego Harbor. So San Diego, excuse me, and the harbor is perfect for the U.S. Navy. So San Diego's always been a Navy town because it's a natural harbor.
Yeah.
So the headquarters of the Third Fleet was right down the street since World War II. These old buildings, I mean, my God. So there's new development going on, and which is great. But now they've taken 6 months, almost a year, to knock down these buildings full of asbestos and who knows what else. And the whole thing is being recirculated. Now, we don't know where or who, but that's what they say.
Right.
All the materials, when they knocked them down, they did it really carefully and slowly, and they put piles of this over here and piles of that over there, and the trucks coming and going. I can hear them going by right now. It's just 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
And they're taking this stuff, I don't know where, probably Mexico, which is 8 miles south of where I am right now. And so that is like a perfect reuse. So what's going to go in there is state-of-the-art biotech companies. It's right overlooking the ocean. So, I mean, this is like multi-billion-dollar value of that's being developed here. 2 blocks from me.
Yep.
So now we have an opportunity with the infrastructure and resurfacing the roads, maybe with asphalt so that it doesn't make so much traffic noise, or maybe they're putting in solar something in the roads so it generates energy. So there's more electricity, more whatever, just from solar power that shines on the asphalt.
Yep.
All day, every day, everywhere. That's like a perfect use of that, rather than buying from China these glass reflectors. All right. I mean, there's so much stuff that can be done. It's really exciting when you get under the skin of the recycling business.
Yeah, and I think the frustrating part for all of us is we're just this little link in this large chain, right? We're just, you feel like sometimes, and one of the chapters in my book said, for a while, I felt like it was too large to do anything about. We're just a 70-person company, but I turned that into, and now it's too large to ignore. I just couldn't ignore it anymore. Like, what can I do? It's not perfect. There's no perfect answers. There just isn't, but there are better answers. And we always say, don't sacrifice perfect for, positive or perfect for positive, right? We want to move in a positive direction, even if it's not perfect. To your point earlier, we'd love to make 90% post-consumer recycled content, but no one would buy it. But people are buying 40% because it's clear enough. You get a good seal, it does the job. So, you're trying to move the ball in that direction. And that's that circular mindset that I've sort of invested in is sort of throughout this book, that I hope it gives people a sense of what that exactly means. And one of the questions I always get on the front of the book is I know it's hard to see, but there's this kayaker, right?
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah, the big question I always get, and the book was just released through John Hunt Publishing just a couple of months ago. Who is in the boat? That's what I always get. Like, who is that? You in the boat? They always ask me. And I always think to myself, I wrote the book, and towards the end, I hope by the end of the book, you see yourself as in the book, that you see yourself as understanding a little bit more about maybe how to move in a sustainable direction and start to investigate your own journey that maybe you can partake in and apply this circular idea.
So I want to introduce you to a guy, maybe you'll be on the show September 1, once again, 8 a.m. California time, 11 a.m. New York, becoming a global voice for change. And I think you qualify for that for sure in this idea. So I'm very happy to promote it. His name is Andrew Elliman. He's a Brit. And he taught himself, with the help of others, how to swim. And the guy's 50 years old, right? He just has been doing that in the past, couple of years since the pandemic. And the reason why he's doing that is because he's a maniac, and he's climbed Mount Everest twice and survived.
Wow.
and he's looking for challenges. And so, I don't know, maybe you drank too much one night with a bunch of guys, and they say, well, why don't you swim the English Channel?
There you go.
I don't know how to swim. Wait a minute, there's all this crap in the English Channel,
right? Plastics,
and who knows what else crawling around. Never mind, I don't know how to swim, he says.
Right.
So he hired a coach, and then the pandemic came, and he couldn't go to the gym or the swimming pools, so he swam in the rivers.
Wow.
Okay, to train. And then he finally got so frustrated, he built a swimming pool, one of these portable things, and filled it with water, and then a machine that he could swim as if he's in the English Channel.
Yeah.
And he doesn't go anywhere, but he does all this,
Yeah.
Right. So Anyway, he's been approved by the authorities to swim the English Channel in the end of September.
Yes.
And he's learned how to swim. And he's using it as a charity thing. He's in PR also. So he's using this as a charity thing, get rid of the plastics in the English Channel, in the oceans.
Good.
So it's a perfect tie-in. So he was on a previous edition of this Global Voice for Change, and I'll invite him to come back.
Good. That's great. I love it.
So,
you always
so
learn.
I'm looking for examples.
Yeah, you learn so much every time you sort of have this interaction, because again, you're just this small little piece. We're just little old Clearview bag trying to chug away and do what we can here in Albany. And then you begin to share your story and realize you have a lot more in common, and you can push that ball forward.
So this bagel bag, right? Common, right? Stores are full of this kind of plastic. I'm told that it's not recyclable.
So that's the other reason that I'll go back to what we started before, is labeling. So there are certain products that there's a how to recycle labeling system that's already in place. There's a lot of major brands who have used it and are using it. And it's just as important to put on something that it's not recyclable, so it doesn't infect the recyclable stream, right? Like if you knew it wasn't recyclable, you would know, I don't want to put this in the wrong recycling stream, so I would infect what is recyclable. So to have a clear labeling system to allow me as a consumer to say, oh, compostable, oh, recyclable, where do I recycle it? Can I recycle it in my curbside bin, or do I have to go to the in-store drop-off? Or it says not recyclable. And the goal would be anything not recyclable that company would work to get it to be recyclable, right? So the labeling feature is so important to this circularity because it involves the consumer and what to do with the package.
We're talking with Trent Roman. What's your website?
It's www.TRENTROMER, that's TRENTROM as in Mary, ER.
Got it.
.com, TRENTROMER.com.
And the company's doing okay?
Yeah, we're doing great. I think the pandemic has been a crazy thing for all of us. When we opened the door on that mid-March day in 2020, I didn't know what was going to happen. But we've done a tremendous amount of medical bags and COVID-19 treatment bags, and a lot more people went to the store instead of out to eat. So the store type things, bread, bagels, ice, pasta bags, were really needed. So we've been able to survive on those things.
So is it your job to get a company like, just a name, Hefty? I love those plastic bags with the zip. I buy them. And I've tried some of the competitors also. But I don't know whether those are recyclable or not. I never even thought of it.
Yeah. And I'll go back to, I think one of the big things is labeling. Like if we could 20 years ago, there was no UPC codes, right? There was the nutritionals probably 30, 40 years ago, but that has become standard for every package. So you as a consumer could see what nutritionals are there and maybe make a buying decision based on the nutritionals. Well, I would love to see the same thing with packaging. If
Right.
you saw something that was recyclable, that may make you buy that package, as opposed to something that's not. And you're just trying to educate the consumer to fill in that circularity idea. So I'm a big proponent of that labeling becoming more and more standard.
Trent Romer, thanks for being my special guest today, August 11, 2021. I had to think about what year we're in. And please come back on Global TV Talk Show.
I would love to. Thank you, Ed, and your audience. I appreciate your time.
Ciao, and thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.